President Trombley, esteemed faculty, students, alumni, staff, parents, honored guests, on behalf of the Board of Trustees of Southwestern University, I welcome you to the installation of Laura Scandera Trombley as president of Texas's first university. This historic day in our 181-year history marks only the 16th time that we have observed the installation of a Southwestern University president, and today, our first female president. The Southwestern University community thanks you for joining us on this auspicious occasion and for sharing our excitement on this historic day. Let me now ask Reverend Ron Swain of the First United Methodist Church of Georgetown and a former senior advisor to a Southwestern president to offer our invocation.
Will you join me as we pray? Gracious and loving God, we give you thanks and praise for this occasion, the inauguration of Laura E. Scandera Trombley as the first woman president of Southwestern University, the first institution of higher learning in the state of Texas. Today, we join with the university trustees, faculty, students, staff, administrators, alumni, and friends to celebrate Laura's installation. Today, the trustees pass on to her the traditional symbols of presidential leadership as she enters the ranks of this high and noble calling, joining her predecessor presidents. Guide her, protect her, give her insight, give her courage, give her a mind of wisdom and a heart of compassion. Today, we stand with Laura as she embraces and embodies the commingling of knowledge and vital piety, and envisions the future for this great university that will be a place that offers an unparalleled, holistic liberal arts education while embracing and valuing all community members. She asserts that this inauguration is about identity and resiliency and continuing our mission and work to ensure that every voice will be heard, valued, and included. Southwestern will always be a place of becoming and a place of education and inspiration. We celebrate the whole person, who they are, and who they will become. Oh, great source of faith and learning. For over 180 years, Southwestern has stood as a beacon of hope and light for her students, but not for her students only, but also for the citizens of Georgetown. So today we affirm this mutually beneficial relationship between town and college. Through its history, Southwestern faculty have impacted not only the students within their respective disciplines, but have also impacted the community around them. So God, we pray that the university will continue its strong leadership and community engagement, so that in this age of information technology and social media, Southwestern will maintain its focus on seeking justice for all humanity. O divine being, open us all to your creative possibilities for the world of your imagination, described by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as the beloved community, a world house in which all your beloved children must learn to live together in peace. This is our prayer. Amen.
You may be seated. I am pleased to introduce several special guests. As I call your name, would you please stand and remain standing so that we can all recognize you. Please hold your applause until all of our guests have been introduced. First, Jake and Jane Schrum, Southwestern's first presidential couple. David Jones, president of Alpha Chi National Honor Society. Dr. Debbie Cottrell, president of Texas Lutheran University, and her spouse, Dr. Alan Cottrell, and Dwayne Hanberry, commissioner of the Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference. Please join me in welcoming our special guests. I hope that you enjoy today's celebration. President Trombley's dear friend and colleague, Dr. Tom Healy, has written a poem specifically for this special occasion. After his reading, we will hear from other of President Trombley's selected friends as they bring greetings to our new president. Again, welcome to the 16th presidential inauguration.
Pirates of the prairie, welcome home. Here where ancient seas squeezed into white stone and thundering black soil under many golden midday suns. Pirates and voyagers after the swell and storm, the angry waves we have all been weathering, coming out on the other side of a dangerous time, let me just say, you look as fine as cream gravy. Friends, neighbors in the way Texans mean neighbors, lovers of the hill country, let's remember, believe, and count our blessings that every storm runs out of rain. Huddle here again, gather strength on this tranquil sea of dormant wildflower and poppy. Restore your masts here, pirates and voyagers, ash and elm, magnolia and maple, redbud, pecan, and this ring of live oaks that cradles us. I'm new here, a stranger still, but I wandered around these trees last night looking for your fabled story tree. No one else was out here, so I never found it. That old oak told me nothing. Your secrets are safe for now. I come from elsewhere to conjure some words with you to remind us of the mysteries of some weird and ancient etymologies. Way, way back when to teach meant to show. To learn was to follow. To study meant to push, to knock, beat with a stick to make a clearing place where time and noise and work go slow. Thinking meant amazement, quiet wonder, hoping to be stunned, dazed, and bewildered. Of course, if you're looking for work, words like these can drive you nuts. I hear you. Not everything can be quiet or stunned. We can't eat a feeling of awe. We love our loudness, the dam-breaking sounds of ambition and hunger. We believe in speed. We crave being notified, verified, dehumidified, commodified, satisfied, not being satisfied. And we need noise if we are ever going to demand justice. We need voice to refuse to agree when we don't, to speak up when someone wants us or someone else to disappear. We need to know how to respond to a symphony of sirens, the dirge of pots and pans, the screams of untruth. The world is both our violence and our quiet, our dust storms and settled dust. So here we are, in the robes and regalia of make-believe, costume of celebration, but symbol of our burden to care, our responsibility to get out there and fix what's broken, to tend to who is frightened and in pain. Be kind, voyagers. We say one way of learning is to suspend disbelief. This is the place. This is the urgent time for us to ask, what do we believe? What do we trust? Whom shall we welcome under these generous branches? We teach, we cajole, we can inspire, but we cannot act as if others can be made to believe. I was a farm boy. I know what Texans mean when you say, if you're riding ahead of the herd, take a look around now and then to see if they're still there. What I'm finding here is the rhythm, the pattern book houses, the expectation of spring poppies on the corner of Myrtle and Fifth. What's here is the bend of the river, quarries emptied of questions and full of memory. What's here is the rhyme of molecules, rules of evidence, an evident abundance of talent, even non-fungible tokens of love. Let me mirror your odes to ambition and defeat, your hunger for answers, your survival skills without them. Let me echo your laments of a world warming with impatience and dread. Let me witness your discovery of truths that all of us will see through the prism of our difference. I am here to count with you the diminishing words for what we share and ways we look and think alike. Voyagers, it's time. Tonight will be clear. You'll see the moon getting fat again. Venus, Saturn, and Jupiter will be giving their come hither twinkle. Get out there, dance, go crazy, then get to work. However you go, take the joy of coming home here back to all corners. Look for surprise out there. Find whispers in the whirlwind. And remember all the gorgeous galaxies you see here in the faces of one another. Dream a little before you think. Voyagers, it's your time, which means it's my time not to miss a good chance to shut up.
Beloved friends and members of the Southwestern community, President Trombley, I bring you greetings on behalf of the people of the United Methodist Church, in particular the bishops, clergy, and laity of the state of Texas. The church gave birth to Southwestern, and marks of that DNA still stand. Parts of our common history deserve critique, especially with regard to race. And the role of the church in society has changed over time. Nonetheless, the Wesleyan tradition has always counted education as integral to the life of faith, and I count it a privilege to celebrate our continued association today. We use a lot of words to talk about Southwestern. Just look at the website. We'll hear a lot of those words spoken today. But I want to bring up one word that might not get spoken otherwise: righteousness. It's a super religious word that conjures up images of self-righteousness, but what it actually means is right relationship between human beings, God, and other people. Right relationship blesses and builds up. It seeks the good and uses every one of God's gifts for the purposes of love and community. I, for one, can witness to the formation of right relationship in this place in ways that have challenged and deepened my capacity to love and to serve others in this world. So it is that I stand here today to greet you as a grateful United Methodist, a grateful alumna of this university, fully invested in the church's partnership with Southwestern. I also pray God's blessing upon you, President Trombley, in your life and in your work, and upon all of us, that this Southwestern enterprise might continue to bear the fruit of right relationship, building a community of love and justice, and thereby blessing and changing the world. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone gathered here today for the installment of President Laura Skandera Trombley here at Southwestern University. I'm Georgetown Mayor Josh Schrader, and I'm charged with welcoming you from the entire Georgetown community. I'll do my best in these short minutes, but from what I know about Georgetown, you've already been welcomed here dozens of times with smiles, hugs, breakfast taco recommendations, and more. This small town charm that is one of the things that makes Georgetown great. Georgetown is home to a lot of wonderful things, including Southwestern University, which is ranked as the top liberal arts university in Texas. We also have one of the most beautiful town squares in Texas. You might have heard some of us talk about that before. And we're the red poppy capital of Texas, making for a most spectacular spring. Who else is looking forward to finally having our Red Poppy Festival next April? President, I would love to see you and hundreds of Southwestern Pirates down on our square next spring. There are more than 67,000 people here in Georgetown now, and we're growing every day. It's an exciting, thrilling time to call Georgetown home because of what we've mentioned and because of what is happening here today. Today is a historic event. President Trombley is the first woman chosen to lead Texas' first university. To me, that means that Georgetown will be continued to be shaped by visionary, pioneering women. Dr. Trombley joins the likes of Jessie Daniel Ames, a Southwestern alumna who helped women win the right to vote more than 100 years ago, and Mary Smith Bailey, who founded the first preschool for non-white children in Georgetown. There's also Annie Lee Pearl, who grew up right here and went on to become a teacher and principal, and we have an elementary school named for her just down Maple Street. Georgetown has an established history of women in leadership, and we're elated to now count Dr. Trombley among them. I'm honored to be one of the many who are here to welcome her to our community, and we know that she's going to do incredible things here. Georgetown, Texas is behind you and here to help you however we can. Congratulations and welcome from Georgetown.
On behalf of the Southwest University Alumni Association, its 14 chapters, and over 16,000 global members, it's an absolute honor today to celebrate Dr. Laura E. Skandera Trombley as the 16th president of our Southwestern University. President Trombley, through a civil war, 2 world wars, a Great Depression, a Great Recession, the 1860s yellow fever epidemic along the Texas coast that severely reduced the state's population, and a modern age global pandemic, Southwestern University's alumni have not only stood by her, but have also served, supported, and strengthened our core purpose and our institutional values. The Southwestern Experience was launched on February 5th, 1840, which marks the date on which the founders of Rudersville College were granted the original charter. For 181 years, our mission has remained steadfast and loyal to our founders' vision of establishing a place to engage the minds and transform the lives of those who seek to embrace the challenges and opportunities of the future, while immersed in a liberal arts community whose values and actions encourage contributions towards the well-being of humanity. In 1875, following the Texas legislature's official recognition of Southwestern University as a successor to its 4 predecessors, our Alumni Association began in July of 1876 with its first 4 graduates receiving their Bachelor of Arts. 145 years later, our alumni's work to serve and strengthen our core purpose and values continues. It is powerfully exemplified by the alumni participation in the development of a 5-year tactical plan. Culminating her first 9 months at the helm, President Trombley, alongside students, alumni, faculty, and staff, presented the tactical plan to the Board of Trustees for its unanimous and enthusiastic approval. The essence of this tactical plan states that if we are to strive as an institution and serve as an inspiration to other liberal arts institutions, it will be because we know who we are and because we are focused on taking care of the things we have. And we will critically examine how we become more inclusive at every level. And with this bold statement, we begin to better understand the work that comes before us. President Trombley, we are excited about your vision. We are proud that the Board of Trustees unanimously chose you to be the first woman to lead Texas's first university. And on behalf of over 16,000 alumni, I give you our commitment that we will serve, support, and strengthen your vision to ensure that we all, students, faculty, staff, administration, alumni, and friends, feel that we truly do belong here and will thrive for a better tomorrow and enduring Southwestern University.
Good afternoon. My name is Janine Piskarich, and as co-chair of the Parent Leadership Council, it is my honor to welcome you to the installation of our 16th president, Dr. Laura Scandera Trombley. This historic day has been a long time coming on many fronts. Dr. Trombley is notably the first woman to hold the top leadership position here at Texas's oldest university. She has also served formidably in the role for nearly 15 months prior to her official installation today. It's a great thing she packed her patience and perseverance when she decided to make the move to Georgetown in July of last year. She is also, above all of her many accolades and accomplishments, a parent. Not just any parent, but the parent of a recently graduated college senior who is now gainfully employed and furthering his future. President Trombley, we stand together with you on many levels as parents, partners, professionals, committed to supporting Southwestern's mission of engaging minds and transforming lives. So please join me in congratulating Dr. Trombley and celebrating our very good fortune to have such a gifted scholar, proven leader, and passionate advocate for liberal arts education at this absolute best-in-class university. On behalf of the parents of the PLC, we welcome you all back to campus and are excited to join with you to be part of something significant at SU. Thank you all for being here during this transformative time for Southwestern as we shape the future together. Welcome home.
Fellow students, faculty, and most of all, President Trombley. Welcome to this most wonderful occasion. My name is William Hebel, and I am the Student Government Association President here at Southwestern. I stand before you proudly representing the student body. President Trombley, today we celebrate your inauguration. In some ways, you've already been inaugurated. After all, you've already welcomed 1,500 new and returning students to our beautiful campus. You've led us through a semester and a half of COVID-19 in its full force. You've led us through an unprecedented winter storm. It appears it may have followed you from Connecticut. Recall, y'all, that it was the first time we ever hit temperatures below zero in Georgetown. And President Trombley, you survived a shockingly mild summer in Texas. The temperatures have only averaged 95 degrees. We celebrate you, not only for becoming our president, but also for becoming our first female president. We are excited and thrilled with this progressive choice, and we are also excited for the ways in which you will lead us and the places you will take us. We look forward to getting to know you, for the old traditions you will continue and the new ones that you will start. Now, I feel like an SGA president should offer some sage wisdom in an inaugural speech, so I sought the work of someone you love, Mark Twain. And here is a quote from him. And this is a quote from which I think we can all benefit. Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people always do that. But the really great make you feel that you too can become great. Welcome, President Trombley. Do great things here at Southwestern.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Southwestern staff, I'm pleased to congratulate President Trombley on her inauguration as the 16th president and the first female president at Southwestern University. I'm honored to stand here today representing this group of dedicated, passionate, and hardworking people. In our Southwestern staff, you will find the heartbeat of this institution. You can witness it in the connections made with students and the collaborations between departments. You only have to walk the majestic halls and the beautiful grounds to see the intricate care given to her. President Trombley, the interest you have shown in your staff by attending some of the staff steering committee meetings, the thoughtful and inclusive approach you have taken with the tactical plan, and the open communication with all of us has made it possible for our voices and input to feel both meaningful and valued. Whether we join you on weekly walks with the promise of a homemade baked goodie, or we walk together towards the goals and values of the university, we look forward to a future full of promise and welcome you to our university. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I am Bob Bednar, Comm Studies Department. I wanted to take a moment in between Serena's comments about greeting you from the staff and my comments greeting you from the faculty to mention that over the last few weeks, the staff and faculty have gotten together to raise money for a project, a campus beautification project in honor of Dr. Trombley. If you've been around campus lately, you know that everybody is working super hard and overwhelmed with all the projects, so we are going to unveil that later. I just wanted to make sure we were honoring you today with that. We'll get to it later, but now for my remarks. I'm proud to be here today on behalf of the faculty to officially welcome Dr. Skandera Trombley as the first female president of Southwestern University. My life has been entangled with Southwestern for over 35 years. First as a student, then as an adjunct instructor, and now a professor. In that time, I've worked for 4 presidents. But of them all, Laura, you're the first president I feel I work with instead of for. Universities are unruly places where the challenge is to somehow get a bunch of different people who are loosely tied together with different interests and trajectories and professional trainings and intersectional identities and get them to work together towards common goals. It's easy to get caught in the trap of either leading from above or getting mired in the weeds. Instead, though, Laura, you are deeply committed to inclusive and collaborative but decisive leadership. You honor the messy work of shared governance, and because of your commitment to inclusion and equity, you're always looking around the table to see who's there and who's missing, and then actively bringing new people to the table. You're experienced and brave enough to make hard decisions, but experienced and smart enough not to make those decisions alone. Because I served on the Presidential Search Committee and co-chaired the Tactical Planning Task Force with you, I have had the opportunity to witness this all from very close range, if socially distanced. I got to see you move from being a virtual person in a app named Applicant 96, and then you were briefly a real person who came and visited campus right before lockdown. And then again, a virtual person on Zoom for a year, and now again, a real person. Here before us all today, showing that you are a leader we can believe in. I know that many of the faculty are starting to feel the way that I do now that they get to know you. Although none of us would have wished to have waited this long to make this inauguration official, it has given everyone a silver lining opportunity to work with you now for over a year and to know that you are indeed the real deal. That means we're here to celebrate not only what we hope from a new president, but what we know to be true. Congratulations on your inauguration. We look forward to a long and productive collaboration. Thank you.
Muy buenas tardes. Estoy encantada de estar aquí. Dear students, colleagues, trustees, alumni, and members of the Southwestern University, congratulations. By hiring Professor Laura Scandera Trombley as your president, you not only have attracted here a top administrator, but you have also joined in conversation with a community of the most prestigious scholars, innovators, and today most competent educators of America. Indeed, you are fortunate. I was myself fortunate to meet Laura when we were both fresh of graduate school, starting out our teaching careers in upstate New York. At the time, when I met her, she had met all expectation for tenure earlier than anyone else in her cohort, of course. From then on, I have been following her inspiring career. When I met Laura, I was a junior assistant professor at one of the State University of New York, having arrived in the States only 5 years earlier from Chile, aware of my accent and energized by many academics and personal dreams. I needed mentoring. Laura gave me all I needed to successfully navigate my tenure process. But in that moment, others, colleagues, promptly followed her advice too. She created a mentoring program that stayed in place for decades in that institution. She concentrated on procedures and needed improvements and searched for ways to resources to fix them. Policies needed to be established. Administrators needed to be trained and educated. So she researched, studied, and sought expert advice to propose the best possible changes. Soon enough, important changes were introduced, and not only junior faculty, but deans and the provost secured her advice, and our president appointed her as his advisor. At the same time, she was a splendid teacher. Students adored her classes because they were participatory, challenging, rigorous, innovative, and fun. The very first syllabi, including women of color authors in the English department at my university, were designed by her. With the same energy, Laura pursued her scholarly research agenda, presenting, organizing conferences, publishing, and of course, as you know, following clues and traces that Mark Twain may have left behind in those places he lived and worked at. Some of my precious memories include long summer drives accompanying her through New England's little towns, searching for letters, notes, local newspapers, or Twain relatives. And she found exquisite information that came to enrich Twain's cultural and literary figure in many ways. Indeed, she did. Reading her books is a pleasure to the scholar, as it is to the aficionado or the person unfamiliar with Twain's work. Anyone can follow her wonderful journey of discovery in a writing that, while it's fully researched and annotated, is never pretentious nor vain, but clearly thoughtful and compelling. In one of those trips I just mentioned, I recall her saying we needed to make a stop to see someone that wanted to talk about Twain for a documentary. And she said, "I'll do that while we have lunch, if you don't mind." A lovely lunch we have with distinguished filmmaker Ken Burns that day. And then she went on to the next library. In becoming an administrator, President Scandera Trombley has not changed who she is. In these 30 years, as you know, she has kept her old friends And she also had kept the unconditional devotion to her son she had when he was born. And that time I remember. At her job, she still works more than anyone else. She always devotes time to her scholarship. She takes into account diverse approaches of points of view. And she always embarks the community in the necessary process of change, often using her vast experience so that the results become sustainable. To name just one institution, you can see how much a college in California changed after the decade of her presence there. You must be, of course, be impressed by her fundraising talent, and I will not be surprised if your institution benefits from that Skandera-Trombley talent. But to me, myself, I was impressed by the modernization that college curriculum, the inventiveness of these new programs reflecting students' interests, its promotion and creation of opportunities for diverse faculty and staff, and that college embraced the Fulbright program, the study abroad programs, and many opportunities for students and faculty alike. Because in recent years, we both have lost our parents, I told Laura how my mother inquired about her every time I visited Chile. She fondly remembered her invitation to meet her own mother, and how even though they spoke different languages, the two women laughed aloud and had a memorable visit. Because as Maya Angelou said, people will forget what you said, what you did, but they will never forget how you make them feel. You hired Laura Skandera-Trombley for her expertise. But what I know is that you will become enchanted by her dedication, her genuine love of teaching and learning, her wit, and that easy smile that facilitates encounters and dialogues among people speaking different languages. I know that Laura Skandera-Trombley, my friend, will be an inspiration for all students in this campus, no matter where they are coming from, to freely create their own story, one that our imagination can help us now anticipate. As Isabel Allende reminds us, that no one can create our own story for us. Thus the power is in you. You are the storyteller of your own life, and you can create your own legend. Or no, it says Allende. I say myself, do it. Tú puedes. Tú claro que puedes.
Good afternoon. It's my great honor to be able to share the remarks of Dr. Ann Ryan, Professor of English at Le Moyne College. Dr. Ryan is a celebrated Twain Scholar, an award-winning teacher, and a longtime friend of President Trombley's. These are her remarks. It seems entirely appropriate to me that I come to you today via the voice and talents of David Gaines. We stand here before you, the Bard of Grand Prairie, Texas, and an Irish banshee from the west side of Syracuse, a Dylan scholar, and, I'm ashamed to say, a disco devotee. The Southwest and the Northeast, present and absent, twinned, doubled, and conjoined, just as Mark Twain would have wanted it. Critics of Mark Twain's life and literature tend to fall into, not surprisingly, two camps. Either he's Saint Mark an icon of humanistic values, or he's a caricature of those same values. A white man in a white suit, unconsciously performing his privilege. Those are the opposing camps, the lovers and the haters. And then there's Laura Scandera Trombley. In her life as a scholar, Laura has peeled back the layers of whitewash, most often applied by a culture desperate to turn Samuel Clemens into an American exemplar. In the process, she has exposed neither a fraud nor a hero, but the complex artist who lived behind and beyond the pseudonym he created. Laura invites her readers and her students to embrace the fragile humanity of a writer deeply aware of his own flaws and those of the country in which he lives. I share this insight into Laura's scholarship because I think it reveals something about how she lives her life. Laura has never been interested in hagiography. She has no desire to build monuments to saints or, for that matter, to judge the sinner. Perfection bores her, which, by the way, is why we've been friends for 25 years. As a biographer, she has an obligation to the truth, as messy and heartbreaking as it can be. But Laura tells that truth, as Emily Dickinson would have it, with a slant, positioned so that the full humanity of the subject appears. Scarred and sacred both. Now that I think of it, maybe Bob Dylan would be a better allusion. Laura understands that, quote, behind every beautiful thing, there's some kind of pain, unquote. What a gift it is then to be her colleague, her student, and as I know so well, to be her friend, to feel an empathy that abides. In any storm I have faced, no matter the struggles, no matter the hour of the day or the distance between us, always I have found in Laura a welcoming heart. When Twain described his wife, Olivia Langdon, whose reputation Laura helped to redeem, he wrote that she had, quote, inextinguishable fires of sympathy, energy, devotion, enthusiasm, and absolutely limitless affection, unquote. It's a wonderfully apt description of Laura Scandera Trombley as well. But you did not choose Laura to be the 16th president of Southwestern University because she is a true and faithful friend. Clearly, you recognized that this generosity, energy, enthusiasm, and dedication are inherent to Laura's habit and philosophy of leadership. I teach at a Jesuit institution, which means that, in addition to there being an ample supply of good food and wine available at faculty and staff functions, a tradition I hope Laura will want to explore here at Southwestern. I'm just reading the script, people. There's also a lot of Latin on campus. In 1546 AD, St. Ignatius of Loyola described one of the hallmarks of Jesuit pedagogy, cura personalis, the care of the whole person. And so, it would seem that as early as the Renaissance, philosophers feared the world we live in now, where alienation, objectification, and fragmentation, the stepchildren of modernity, make it just a little easier for us to turn each other into scapegoats and targets. For all her cosmopolitanism, for all her love of innovation and progress, in this regard, Laura is a Renaissance woman. Laura Scandera Trombley has dedicated her life to telling the story of the whole person. And more to the point, this is what she sees as the function of higher education, to celebrate and cultivate human dignity in all its dizzying variety and complexity. For 181 years, Southwestern has been a beacon of academic excellence. Other institutions happily treat students as avatars only, and the curriculum as just a means to an end. However, with Laura Scandera Trombley as its president, Southwestern University will continue to honor the unique potential of all students, and as it has done for generations, to provide them with an education that feels like a legacy. I am so sorry that I cannot be with you today to celebrate my wonderful, extraordinary friend and to congratulate her in person. Laura has arrived at a place that matches her wit and wisdom, a university that values what matters in an education, a place that I know will flourish under her care and creativity. Congratulations, Southwestern University, on choosing this remarkable woman as your president. My thanks to David Gaines for representing me so well. Just reading. And to you, Laura, I send you warmth and love from your friend in the blustery wilds of Syracuse, New York.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Trombley family, I would like to thank you all for coming today. My name is Nelson Trombley, and I'm here to say a few words about my mom, your new college president. As someone who has had the wonderful experience of graduating into a COVID-ravaged job market, and then moving back home, and then moving to Georgetown with her, I'm uniquely qualified to shed some light on a day in the life of President Trombley. First, let me say that you shouldn't expect her to act like your traditional college president. I know that during my time in undergrad, I'm pretty sure that I only saw the president of my university a grand total of 5 times. Rookie numbers, I know. With President Trombley, expect the opposite. On Monday mornings as early as 7 a.m., you can find her walking the campus with a group of students or faculty or staff, sometimes a mashup of all three. Not for any reason in particular, just as a way of bringing together those who might not normally connect with each other. She loves to meet people outside of walls and offices. She loves to connect in and with the great outdoors. I may not be able to count the number of hikes we've taken together, but I remember all the conversations we had on those frequently rocky trails. Now that you're a part of the Trombley family tradition, Southwestern, walking and talking, and finding connections along the way. Last year, as I looked for jobs and a place of my own to live, sorry, I thought I heard her say thank God, I started to notice other things about my mother. Not necessarily new things, but in the shadow of my efforts to step out on my own, they suddenly looked new. Her baking, for example. Surely, many of you have heard by now that my mother is a prolific baker. Muffins, pies, pastries, cookies, you name it. She loves to put her skills to the test. At least once a week, she'll bring fresh baked goods into her office, free for anyone who needs a snack. If you manage to wake up for her morning walk, you can expect her to provide you with something fresh from the oven when you're done. She never wants any student to go to class on an empty stomach, and this is one of her ways of making sure that even in college, you have someone watching out for you. When I was a child, and I found one of those cookies in my lunch, it felt like a hug from home. And that's how she wants students to feel at Southwestern. Cared for, special, and even at home. Finally, I'm going to move north for a moment, namely to the AYSO, the American Youth Soccer Organization of Iowa. At 5 years old, nobody explicitly told me the rules of soccer, but it didn't stop my mom from encouraging me to play the game. I remember seeing her on the sidelines when we were playing a match. Match being used loosely here to describe 20 kindergartners running in a field. Suddenly, I was past the ball, an altogether overwhelming experience, as it was my maybe third time it had ever happened. I sprang into action, tearing off down the field with no one around me. Weirdly, no one around me. I could hear my mom cheering and cheering and cheering as I approached the goal. I kicked the ball and I scored on myself. So I realized that I had disappointed the team, but all I could hear was my mom cheering for me. Students, be ready to both see and definitely hear her at your games as she makes it a priority to get out, support, and encourage you to be your best at everything you attempt. So students, why am I telling you all of this? Whether you're ready or not, know that she is. Look for her at your games. She'll be the loudest redhead in the stadium. Find her Monday mornings for a walk, a home-baked cookie, and an easy conversation. Reach out to her during office hours because she'll always try to do right by her students. Thank you, Mom, for everything you've done for me, for the faith you've shown in me, for the unending support, and for cheering me, even if I sometimes kick the ball in the wrong direction. And now welcome, Southwestern community, to our family.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Southwestern University to all of our visitors. May I have my fellow Board of Trustee members to stand with me while I do this? I am Ricky Raven, Board Trustee, and on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I would like to extend to all of you a very warm Southwestern welcome. It is an honor to share with you in the inauguration of Laura E. Scandera Trombley, 16th President of Southwestern University. The Board of Trustees is very grateful for your attendance at this momentous occasion. A university has some underpinnings: a love of learning, a longing for discovery, a commitment to pursuing truth and making the world a better place. Each of these qualities are present at Southwestern and present in abundance. I am beyond humbled and honored to be a part of this amazing board. However, we are all here to share in the most precious gifts that we can possibly give. And those gifts are the gifts of our time, the gift of our presence, and our support. Thank you very much for being a part of this special day at this very, very special university.
When our Presidential Search Advisory Committee in September 2019 undertook the challenging task of replacing Ed Berger as Southwestern's president, we identified the attributes that we desired in his successor. 6 months later, we had found our ideal candidate. One attribute we sought was experience as an administrator at a national liberal arts college. The president of Pitzer College from 2002 to 2015, and a passionate advocate for the liberal arts, Laura Scandera Trombley had precisely the type of experience we sought. Her success at Pitzer, which included the unprecedented accomplishment of improving Pitzer's national rankings by U.S. News and World Report from 70th to 32nd, and establishing Pitzer as the top producer of Fulbright Award recipients in the country from 2010 to 2015, was stunning. Her subsequent presidencies at the Huntington Library, Hart Museum, and Botanical Gardens, and at the University of Bridgeport saw similar accomplishments. During her short 16-month tenure at Southwestern, she has demonstrated repeatedly her administrative skills, and our U.S. News ranking has risen from 102nd to 98th. I am confident that we will see continued progress on that front. Another desirable attribute we identified was accomplished scholarship. President Trombley, as you have heard, is a Mark Twain Scholar of the First Order. Her Twain Scholarship has earned her prestigious awards from the Huntington Library and the Mark Twain Circle of America. In 2019, the Mark Twain Journal named her a Legacy Scholar for her efforts in rehabilitating the intellectual reputations of women in Twain's life. She jokes that she knows more about the women who surrounded Mark Twain than anyone else in the world. She has continued to pursue her Twain Scholarship since arriving at Southwestern, having had an article published in a high-profile academic journal just last week. We also wanted a president with a demonstrated commitment to diversity, equity, inclusive excellence, and belonging, with an emphasis on further diversifying our faculty, staff, and board to make those constituencies look more like our student body. President Trombley has written extensively about the underrepresentation of women and of people of color in academia, and she has taken action to address those shortcomings. When she left Pitzer, more than 50% of tenure-track faculty were female and more than 30% people of color. Shortly after arriving at Southwestern, as you have heard, she assembled a 20-person task force that has now produced a 5-year tactical plan, which the board has unanimously approved. A key tenet of that plan is building and sustaining a culture of diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity for students, faculty, staff, administration, alumni, and trustees to emphasize our commitment and identity as an institution. Another desired attribute was financial acumen. In all 3 of her prior presidencies, President Trombley has demonstrated strong financial skills. In her first year at the Huntington, she helped raise over $39 million, a $10 million increase over the previous year, and achieved record earned revenue from admissions. At the University of Bridgeport, she identified $10 million in budgetary savings, saved millions more by renegotiating contracts with all major vendors, and entered into 2 memoranda of understanding with major real estate developers. Her financial success has continued at Southwestern. During her first full year as our president, gifts to the university increased from $8.5 million to $12.1 million. Alumni participation in giving increased from 20% to nearly 26%, and remarkably, the university ended that most challenging year with a surplus. Finally, we wanted a president who would be able to make informed and timely decisions about matters of institutional significance. In setting that goal, none of us on our committee had anything as significant as a global pandemic in mind. But we ended up with a president who now has been there and done that. And with the help of the entire Southwestern community, President Trombley has done it in spectacular fashion. During the 2020-21 academic year, approximately 70% of all classes were conducted in person. We had the second largest student body in our history, and our low COVID-19 positivity rate was the envy of most of our peer institutions. And the current academic year so far has been even better. As some of you may have seen on our website, the number of students isolating or quarantining on campus as of today is 0. Consistent with the desires of our board, the Search Advisory Committee sought a president who could and would make Southwestern all it can be. I am confident that we have found that person in Laura Scandera Trombley. Now, let the investiture of Southwestern's 16th president begin.
In 1837, Martin Reuter of Pennsylvania rode more than 1,700 miles on horseback to the Republic of Texas. Although the Methodist circuit rider would only work in Texas 6 months before succumbing to disease, he lobbied Sam Houston and other leaders of the young Republic of Texas of his dream of establishing the first institution of higher learning. In 1840, the Republic of Texas granted the first higher education charter in Texas to the college named for Martin Reuter, Reuterville's College near LaGrange. In subsequent years, other colleges and universities were established by Methodist pioneers and chartered in Texas. Wesleyan College in St. Augustine in 1844, Mackenzie College in Clarksville in 1848, and Sewell University in Chapel Hill in 1856. The state of Texas transferred the charters of these 4 root colleges to that of Southwestern University when it was established here in Georgetown in 1870. President Trumbley, today I present to you the charters of Southwestern University and its 4 root colleges.
The mace includes the names of each university president of Southwestern University and the seal, which includes the founding dates of each root college and Southwestern.
The University Mace represents the Academy and Southwestern's mission as a place of learning. On behalf of the faculty, we present to you the University Mace.
President Trombley, in honor of your commitment to Southwestern University, I present you with the Southwestern Ring, an expression of pride for our alumni. As the only Southwestern symbol that will be with you at all times, the ring shares our past and with you carries our future.
President Trombley, the Presidential Medallion is the official symbol of the presidency of Southwestern, the position to which you have been elected by the Board of Trustees. On the board's behalf, I proudly present to you the Presidential Medallion. On behalf of the trustees, I welcome you as the 16th president of Southwestern University. I assure you, President Trombley, of our confidence in you and pledge our support to you as you strive to continue the greatness that is this university's celebrated past and envisioned future. Faculty, students, staff, alumni, parents, friends, I now present to you the 16th president of Southwestern University, Laura Scandera Trombley.
Thank you so much. I can't tell you how much this means to me and how moved I am. And the words of one of my favorite songs come to mind. At last, finally, here we are. I get to see all of you, and I can't wait to meet every one of you. And I want to express my appreciation to everyone, the faculty and staff, trustees, parents, friends, alumni, guests, my child, my friends, and especially our students. In particular, I want to send a great note of gratitude to Patricia Witt, and the staff of the President's office, to our facilities and IT staff, custodians, grounds crew, communications and marketing staff, whoever put that wall back up, university relations staff, and food service workers. Please join me in thanking them for all of their efforts. We gather here today as a community of scholars and learners committed to the ideals of truth and inquiry, diversity, belonging, inclusion, and equity, DIBE, as we call it. It's particularly fitting that we begin with an acknowledgement not only of whom we are, but where we stand. Southwestern University is located on the traditional, ancestral, and contemporary lands of Indigenous peoples. This land, first populated over 15,000 years ago, holds great historical and spiritual significance. We pledge to respect and teach about the traditions and culture of the original inhabitants, as well as to be caring and committed environmental stewards. We are, after all, to paraphrase Heraclitus, a newcomer on the scene, compared to native peoples, just moments in a river of time where there are no second chances, yet working together we can help change the current. I arrived on campus on June 16th, 2020, after an 1,800-mile road trip, something of a Connecticut Yankee by way of California beaches. It's fitting that today isn't just an inauguration day. It's also a time to celebrate family, tradition, loyalty, and the ties that bind, homecoming weekend. And that's what today feels like to me. It's like coming home. Still, an inauguration is a time for introductions, and you've heard quite a bit, and I must say I am really incredibly touched by what I've heard. But let me tell a bit of my story, which is now woven into the greater legacy of Southwestern. After graduating from Pepperdine University with my BA and MA, while in the PhD program at the University of Southern California, I was fortunate to live for nearly 3 years in Bavaria, Germany, teaching in the American Studies Department at the University of Eichstätt. While there, in addition to learning how to speak Bavarian, Servus, I joined the town of Eichstätt's women's basketball team, as well as the local volleyball team. And despite my best efforts, I quickly realized that my international athletic career, like too many of my jump shots, fell pitifully short. So I decided the fallback would be academia. After spending 13 years as a college student, I became the first in my family to earn a PhD. I am by training a literary critic, by disposition a biographer. Beyond the complexities and beauties of the literary work, I've always been fascinated by the figure of the writer and the equally fluid and elusive text that is a life story. And we all have stories to tell. In my scholarly work, I've explored the worlds of Maxine Hong Kingston, Margaret Fuller, Grace King, Isabel Lyon, and of course, Mark Twain. While we may assume that identity is fixed by tangible markers, like a name, a birth date, or even by the legacies of blood and culture, I've found that these are as ephemeral and shifting as any metaphor. It's a particularly intimate lesson for me. I'm an adopted child, and my birth name is Charmin Wheeler Gallegos. I was born to a 19-year-old woman who had been sent by her family to a Salvation Army home for unwed mothers. I learned that my Hispanic birth father was 26 years old when I was born. My birth name was immediately redacted, as was the law at the time, and replaced with a number. I became baby girl C3121. At 3 months, I was adopted by John and Mary Scandera. My adoptive father, his brother and sisters, abandoned as children during the Great Depression, grew up in an orphanage. My father, a first-generation college graduate, became an elementary school teacher, and he taught for 42 years. I'm in touch with his former students today. My adoptive mother, also the first in her family to graduate from college, was one of the first women in Los Angeles to become an elementary school principal and showed me by example that women can be leaders. I thought that was normal growing up. Both of my parents taught me what Joan Didion wrote in Blue Nights. Do not whine, do not complain, work harder. I went on to marry, to add my partner's name to my own, and after that story ended, I kept that last name, my connection to my son. Somewhere out of all of this chorus of names and dates, numbers and ethnicities, I emerged Laura Scandera Trombley. My history taught me to read a name as one part fate and two parts fiction. It's an insight I discuss with my students in the first year seminar I'm currently teaching, Autobiography in the Age of the Selfie. I encourage my students to remember that every life is a text worth reading and that their lives are absolutely special. As we read our way through the memoirs of celebrated authors from Frederick Douglass to Mark Twain, Maya Angelou to Joan Didion, I remind my students that a life is a work of art, or at least it should be. Frederick Douglass wrote about the trauma of anonymity, the violent erasure inflicted by the American slave state. As a child, he was haunted by questions about his existence. How old am I? Who's my father? What's my name? Where was I born? Robbed of those most intimate facts, in his adulthood, Douglass created a name out of this void. More than that, he formed an identity as original and creative as any poem. Unlike Frederick Douglass, Samuel Langhorne Clemens knew exactly who his parents were, where he was born, and the world he came from. His self-invention reflects the burden of that history and the guilt that often framed it. Twain was keenly sensitive to the evocative power of language, and he realized that his pseudonym would echo in a divided America in which he lived. His name, Mark Twain, highlighted the battle lines and the boundaries between the East and West, North and South. His name was a geographical invitation either to heal or to divide. And that brings me to our name, Southwestern University. Yes, we are the oldest university in Texas, and we are the first university to have homecoming in the United States. As we trace our history of our name, we can see a Texas-style iteration of E pluribus unum, Rudersville, Wesleyan, Mackenzie, and Soule. In 1873, we opened in Georgetown as Texas University, but in 1875, the Texas State Legislature renamed us Southwestern University. Thus we were named, not after an individual, not after a sect, not after a company, not after a town, but after a point on a compass that is America. We've traveled a long path since our founding. We were once a male Methodist institution. Later, women were admitted. In 1969, the first African-American student graduated, Ernest Clark. One more point on the map, another measure of growth and reckoning. Today, we are among the most diverse liberal arts institutions in the country. We celebrate all of our students' various religious and spiritual lives, and 40% of our student population identify as students of color. Rebecca Solnit comments in her essay, How Change Happens, about the consequences of transformations. Quote, the unknown becomes known, the outcasts come inside, the strange becomes ordinary, end quote. As I've often discussed with my students, one measure of a life well lived is how well we read our history. What use do we make of the gifts that we inherit or the traumas that mark us? As we research our institutional history, that increased knowledge will require a reframing of past narratives. While he was the first Black man to receive a vote for President of the United States, Frederick Douglass could never forget the scars on his back. Mark Twain exorcised the ghosts of his youth and the tragedies of America through the satire he created. Maya Angelou turned the suffering of her childhood into the song that a caged bird sings. Joan Didion speaks of unspeakable loss with wry wit and clarity. All these writers transformed their past into truth, into wisdom, into action, into art, and they transform all of us along the way. This same process is the hallmark of great institutions. At Southwestern, we don't fear or ignore the facts of our history. We use this as a map and we will chart our future using that map. The historical accident that gave us our name is also a powerful symbol of whom we are and what we do from here. We're a point of convergence. We are a place of coming together. We attract multiple, sometimes opposing perspectives, orientations, experiences, and ideas. And yet, as the points on the compass suggest, Southwestern represents a crossroads of intellectual tradition. After 4 years on this beautiful campus, our students use their talents and imagination to chart a path forward, beyond their alma mater. We invite them to choose a direction that honors not just their ambition, but the lessons they've learned here, to comprehend the past, not to enshrine it, to remember that people are not numbers, to measure their wealth, not materially, but spiritually, and to create opportunities for the generation that will follow. Meeting Southwestern students has been, without a doubt, the greatest joy over this past year and a half of my presidency. And while I met with many groups last year, I think, as you all know, it's just not the same when you're using Ring Central and you ask the question again and again, your mute's on. Can you please turn it off? Even when our students graduate, their alma mater is never far from their thoughts. For well over a century, Southwestern alumni have given back to this institution. They've given their wisdom, their loyalty, and one gift more. Just as a parent wills a family home to a child, or hands down a precious heirloom, a quilt, for example, our alumni have left us the gift of land. For nearly a century, we've been the recipient of hundreds of acres of land. In fact, well over 1,000, our own version of the Promised Land. For this land, contiguous to our campus, we will steward, as mindful of its history as we are of its potential. As we think about our students' virtuous circle, we will develop opportunities for entrepreneurship, attain the highest levels of environmental sustainability, cultivate space for creativity and community, provide high-impact experiences and paid internships, grow our relationship with the city of Georgetown and the world beyond, widening the scope of Southwestern to reach every point on the compass. And we will do this work together. Over the coming decades, our student, faculty, and staff population will increase, so will our alumni. The campus will expand, and Southwestern will grow and thrive. Yet no matter the opportunities that present themselves, our mission, our core investment in the liberal arts must never waver. We know through the stories our students and faculty and alumni tell, what we do really matters, not just for the individual who's transformed, but for their families and their communities as well. We do the good work, and we do the important work. In difficult times, the image of the academy as an ivory tower may be comforting. It may suggest that one function of higher education is to remain static, wedded to certain immutable truths. But that image has no appeal for me. When I think of what a liberal arts education can do and what we do here at Southwestern, I think of a rainbow-colored prism refracting light into 1,000 variations and possibilities. I'd like to close with a few personal reflections. I know very well I would not be here. There wouldn't be any graduate degrees or books or academic positions if it hadn't been for my faculty mentors, my students, my faculty colleagues, the philanthropists who funded my scholarships and fellowships, dear friends who've stood by me through the good and the hard, my mother and father, and my son, who's always been my morning star. My life has never been separate from education and academia. A great deal of my scholarship has been devoted to the life of Mark Twain, but lately I've been feeling more of a kinship with Henry David Thoreau. In August, I completed what's been a long-time goal, to hike the entire 217 miles of the John Muir Trail. It took me 7 years. At the end of each segment, I'd return to my family and friends, bruised, burnt, exhausted, and they'd cluck with concern. In his essay, Walking, Thoreau asks us, quote, to speak a word for nature, for absolute freedom and wildness, end quote. Certainly that's part of the appeal to me. As you climb Sierra Nevada passes, higher and higher, close to the precipice, the sun enveloping you, peering, terrified over the edge. You feel both the fragility of life and the exhilaration of being fully immersed within it. But there's something more to it than that. I'm not a great backpacker. I blister, my legs ache, I complain, I scare easily, and I hike slowly. I lose my way, and I have to go back and retrace my footsteps, yet I persevere. I know that success means measuring your way step by step. I become the most determined when I feel the most hopeless. I hike with my house strapped to my back, and I keep my friends by my side. In August, I reached the highest point of our climb, Glen Pass, just under 12,000 feet. The Pacific Ocean was to the west, below a seemingly endless rocky descent. Thoreau wrote that as strange and whimsical as it may seem, whenever he left his house for a walk, he finally and inevitably set his needle, always pointing due southwest. As I stood there on the mountaintop, I set my needle as well. I turned and looked toward this magnificent university, your home, and now mine, Southwestern. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of this historic event. At the conclusion of the ceremony, please continue the celebration by joining us on the Jones Plaza for refreshments. We will then return here to the Academic Mall at 5:30 for the Schilling Lecture. Now please remain standing for the benediction, the singing of the Alma Mater, and the recessional. Reverend Swain.
Friends, we've heard Laura's story, and she challenges us to tell our own stories. This day, this inauguration is about identity and resiliency and continuing the mission and work to ensure that every voice is heard, valued, and included. Holy One, you have blessed our gathering to inaugurate Laura Scandera Trombley as the 16th president of Southwestern University. Now we pray that you would bless our going into a world of chaos, confusion, and injustice, into a world of unknowns. As we depart, we go with the assurance of your divine presence with us. As we go, help us to hold in the balance our faith and our learning. And so now, my friends, may the Holy One bless you and protect you. May the Holy One show God's face and make it shine on you. May the Holy One be gracious to you. May the Holy One show you God's favor and give you shalom. Amen.
Please join me in singing the Alma Mater.
Hail, Alma Mater, glory to thy name. Loyal voices blend to sing thy everlasting fame. Hail to Southwestern, ever hearts of truth ever sing thy